Hello everyone and welcome to Sim Racing Online. This is round 6 of the GT Legends Championship. It's been a while since I've been able to bring this to you, but today we are back and I'm very happy and excited to be able to say that. Let's have a look at some cars, shall we? We're at Calabogie Motorsports Park, which is a circuit that I haven't heard of before and I'm not sure if it's real or not, so I'll have to do some research in a few minutes. But whatever the case, we're going here for round 6 out of 7 of the championship. Here's Phil Brown, who's currently topping qualifying by over a second from Tim Muttram at this point in time. That is quite an impressive lap time from Phil there. In his Porsche 906. In terms of the championship, I know we've missed a few rounds. Tim Muttram is currently leading the championship by 41 points. That's quite a big margin over Laurent Lans, who is in second position. And of course, you only get 40 for a race win. So Tim Muttram could very well wrap up the championship today. And even if he doesn't, he could effectively wrap it up today pretty easily, because the number of points that it's possible to score, or the minimum number of points that it's possible to score in one day, I should say, depends on how many drivers turn up. Meaning, we'll have to see going into the last round whether it's still mathematically possible for anyone else to win the championship or not. So today, I don't think we're going to quite be able to tell if the championship's been wrapped up or not. Although if Tim Muttram scores the same number of points as Laurent Lans, which is impossible, or fewer, of course, or more, then yeah, he will absolutely wrap up the championship today. So a win for Tim Muttram, or any position ahead of Lans, who is currently second, that would give Tim Muttram the championship automatically. So let's have a look at Tim Muttram now. He's in his BMW CSL. The last 2 rounds of the championship that we haven't streamed, the Nürburgring was actually won by Tim Muttram, so he won at the Nordschleife. Relatively close race, just 3.5 seconds over Laurent Lans, which at the Nordschleife doesn't really mean that much. And then the last round was Virginia International Raceway, and that was actually won by Phil Brown with Tim Muttram second. So Brown and Muttram, they've obviously been the top 2 for this whole championship. They've obviously been the 2 to pick from. But it's definitely Muttram who has the advantage. In terms of the championship, it's Muttram leading by 41 points, as I said. Lans is second. Tim Muttram has 2 wins to Lans' 0. Davide Ricciardi is third in the championship, 1 win, 15 points behind Lans. Fourth in the championship is Phil Brown. He actually missed a round. And then we have Paul Anstey, Lewis Defoe, Jos Ogos, Gian van der Geest, Lorenzo Galuzzi, and Mark Johnson, the top 10. So that's how it stands at this point in time. We're still watching Tim Muttram hot lapping his BMW CSL, as Davide Ricciardi goes second. Let's watch on board actually with Tim Muttram. We don't get enough onboard cameras in this series, and this is what it's like to drive a classic late 60s sports GT car. Braking into a right-hander grass bank on the left. I'm not going to search up Calabogie Motorsports Park actually to see if it did or does indeed exist. Apparently it does, I think. Hosts regional road racing and is the main circuit in the Ottawa metropolitan area in Canada. Okay, apparently it's only opened in 2006. It's a relatively recent motorsport venue. Looks much more old-fashioned though. It was obviously designed to be a sort of club regional old-fashioned style circuit and not host anything like Formula 1 or WEC or the like. No disrespect to the circuit, it looks interesting. And for this type of car, the 60s GT cars, it is exactly the kind of track that they like to visit. Yeah, apparently it's a relatively long circuit, 3.05 miles long, so it's only just shorter than Road America. And you can tell that by the lap times too, 2 minutes 06 when you do it right. Not as long as some other tracks that we've been to, such as the Nordschleife, but still definitely longer than a lot of modern circuits you would find nowadays. But that is okay. So 30 seconds to go in this qualifying session. And Tim Muttram actually only 4th as it stands. That's a little bit disappointing from Tim. Doesn't need a brilliant result today. He's pretty much got the championship in the bag anyway. But would certainly like one. Vasilis Doumanas there just jumped up into 9th position. But this is important from Muttram. Is he going to get himself up onto the front row of the grid? Or will Laurent Lons have the advantage today? So checkered flag will be waiting for him. Here he comes through what I presume is the final corner. And out towards the start-finish line over the grass slightly. Crossing the line, and that's not going to be an improvement from Tim Muttram. So he loses out. Actually, it was a slight improvement from Muttram, but no improvement in terms of position. Let's see if we can find someone else who's on the lap. Anstey is not. Doumanas, of course, recently jumped up through the order. Now, I'm not sure whether that's saying he's 2 seconds down in that sector or whether he was 2 seconds down on his last lap. But anyway, it looks to me that Phil Brown is going to get pole position because he's over half a second faster than anyone else at this point in time. This could be Brown's race to lose, really. Brown has been almost as competitive as Tim Muttram over the course of the series, but of course missed a round. I believe he missed Sherrod, although... No, actually he won Sherrod. What round did he miss then? Possibly Virginia? No, he won Virginia too. My apologies. Whatever the case, Phil Brown possibly could have challenged for the championship had he not missed a round, and it was the Nürburgring that he missed actually. But anyway, still doing a very good job this season. He's won 2 of the 5 races that we've had. Other drivers who've scored podiums, of course, Tim Muttram, Laurent Lons. And actually, we had 1 podium for Jos Olgos and another for Lorenzo Galuzzi as well. But anyway, Doumanas crosses the line, and that's going to be a long way down on his lap, so no improvement there. And I think that is the session over. Judging by Lakinen's lap, he won't be improving. So I believe that's Brown on pole, followed by Ricciardi, then Lons and Muttram. So that's how they stand. And indeed, we're now going to see the full confirmed grid order. So it's going to be Brown on pole in his Porsche 906. Then it's Davide Ricciardi in his De Tomaso Pantera. Laurent Lons following him. Tim Muttram, BMW CSL, 4th place. Paul Anstey versus the Shelbys in 5th position. And then it's Mark Johnson, Vasilis Doumanas, James Bird, Jari Lakkinen. John Van der Geest has a Ferrari in 10th place. Then it's Tony Talviti. Tudor Morris in the 911 RSR. Last time we broadcasted the series, we didn't have any 911s on track, although we do now. Then it's Glenn Jones, Stefan Lagodin, Paul Upham, Kimi Martikainen has a Nissan GTR. The GTR hasn't really proven that competitive this series, but some people still giving it a good go. Sid Drake, then Christian Darga, Oliver Rakonjak, and Klaus Jorgensen, and that is the field of 20 cars that will take the start today. John Van der Geest, wishing me good luck with the show. Thank you very much, John. Good luck to you in the race as well. Amazing lap there from Phil Brown. He is over half a second faster than the competition, and look at that, the entire grid. Big gap. I presume that Jorgensen didn't get a competitive lap in, but even so, you've got almost 8 seconds of a gap there, so this could be an interesting race. We could get things like traffic coming into play later on, maybe. the field spreads out. But I am expecting fights for, maybe a fight for second would be nice, and probably also fights for other positions inside and near the top 10. Hello to everyone in the YouTube chat. Bill Grocog helped me to know that my stream was working, so thank you for that. And also good to see Andrew Williams tuning in today as well. Phil on pole, no pit required, no mistakes equals easy win, maybe, says Andrew Williams. So Phil Brown is his pick for pole. Of course, that's an interesting point. We've seen in the past that the Porsche 906 doesn't need to make a pit stop. It has the fuel and the fuel efficiency to run to the end of the race, whereas a lot of the other cars don't. So Phil Brown here, I think, does have an advantage so long as he doesn't make any mistakes. Although, of course, if he is forced to conserve fuel, there's always the issue of, will he conserve fuel too much, maybe? Again, all of this we shall see. He's not a championship contender, but anyway, here come the lights, 6 red lights, and when they go out, we will be underway at Calabogie Motorsports Park, and it is go now for 20 GT cars, and Phil Brown appears to have got a good start. Look at Tim Muttram in the BMW poking out of the slipstream. Bad stuff for one of the Porsches at the back. Now we head up to turn 1, and as soon as they go through the checkpoint, we'll be able to see, oh, contact for the leaders! Contact for the leaders! Does Brown go off? No, he stays on the road, and I think, so who was that he went in with? It was Lons, maybe? And it looks to me as if they've all got through okay. No, it was Ricciardi, but they have indeed all got through okay, just about. But yeah, contact for the leaders, and that could have been very, very hairy indeed. Brown leads from Ricciardi as they go up the hill. Tim Muttram taking a look. Laurent Lons in 4th position, then it's Anstey 5th. Talviti is side by side further back with James Bird. The 2 Shelbys, and I think Talviti is going to come out on top out of those 2 for the time being. Van der Geest made up a place into 9th position in that Ferrari. We've got a spin, and that is Ricciardi. Yes, it is. So Ricciardi's gone around. Anstey's gone around as well. Anstey's in the pack. He's been hit, and there's carnage further back. We've got Dumanas off, and Drake off as well. So we do have carnage in the pack. Not entirely sure how that happened. It looked to me as if Ricciardi lost it, but I'm not sure whether he had contact from someone else or whether he looped it around all by himself. But whatever the case, a couple of drivers losing time and dropping back through the pack. Drake is down to 16th, Anstey to 15th, Ricciardi to 14th. Plenty of positions lost in all of that. We're now watching Johnson as he attacks Tim Muttram almost. Still at the opening lap of the race though. Bit of a gap being built already. Phil Brown building it out over Muttram. Anstey and Ricciardi trying to fight to gain positions back. Anstey getting a little bit pear-shaped. A little bit squirrely. But keeping it just about under control. Over the grass go the BMWs, and even more so go some of the Shelbys there. And Van der Geest looks as if he's about to go up into 5th. So Van der Geest from 10th on the grid, already up into 5th. That's good to see. Ricciardi's in the pits, so Ricciardi is going to drop down the order even further now, and could be out of the race. We'll have to see it. Here's Tony Talviti. He got a little bit involved in the opening lap, but now trying to hold on to John Van der Geest. So Brown, Lons, Muttram, Johnston, Van der Geest almost running over the grass on the outside. Just about keeping it on the road. It's a horrible feeling when you find yourself on the less grippy parts of the track like that, and you're like, oh, brake, don't want to get a wheel on the grass. But anyway, we still thought that Talviti was taking a look at Van der Geest there, but I think it was just a difference in lanes. Up through the second sector of the course. Let me get a track map up to see if I can spot any corner names. Oh, is that Lackinen locking up there and touching James Bird? Bird running over the grass as well. Andrew Williams says Davide came through the pits because he had a drive-through from the last event. Thanks for updating me on that, Andrew. That's very, very useful. I thought it was to do with the incident, but anyway, you probably know more than I do about that. Dumanas now has passed Rakonyak, so that is over 11th position there. As further back, still positions changing outside of the top 15. Lauren Lunds, meanwhile, is close back up to just a second behind Phil Brown. He was just 0.6 of a second in the last split there. Changes going on in the top 15 as well. Looks like Ricciardi's managed to repass. Who's that? Klaus Jorgensen. And now Anstey goes around the outside of Rakonyak for 12th place. Look at those stones on the inside, completely unprotected there. Hopefully no one goes around there, because that's going to be a rocky ride, no pun intended. Now, what can Lons do about Brown? We've seen that the Pantera has a lot of straight line speed, especially towards the end of a straight. The Porsche, not quite renowned for its straight line speed. It's very slipstreamed, but it's more renowned for its fuel efficiency and manoeuvrability. Sorry, I got the hiccups. I've had a little incident further back. Cheetah Morris there in the 911 RSR appears to have had a little, I think he went off, and Klaus Jorgensen did as well. So they're now right down at the back of the order. Good to see Porsche 911 RSRs on the grid, even though they were a pain to set up, and actually that was the reason for the technical difficulties that stopped us from recording at the Nürburgring. At least I know that it wasn't my fault. There was a problem in setting the mod up, but anyway. So still, the lead is separated by less than a second in these early stages. It looked initially as if Brown was really starting to pull away, but Lon's not willing to let him pull away like that. He needs a good result with a bad result from Muttram if he's going to properly keep the championship alive. Otherwise, he'd very much have to rely... Oh, as Talviti appears to have retired. So Talviti's disappeared back to the pits, and it's briefly put him up to the lead. I can guarantee he's not leading the race. But anyway, so something's happened to Tony there. What was I saying? But anyway, I think if Lons isn't going to win this race with Muttram delivering a bad result, he's going to have to very much rely on Muttram not making the next race, not starting it, which I'd say is probably very unlikely. Oh, we do have some good corner names on this track, my goodness. Temptation, Deliverance, wow. Wicked, there's even, oh my word, the turn 19, the penultimate corner is named Wicked. That is an amazing name for a corner. Ricciardi there passes Rakonyak. Looks as if Rakonyak had a little bit of a bad exit. Ooh, getting a little bit sideways on the exit there as well. Let's see if I can spot where they're heading up to. I believe... Actually, no, I'd be lying if I said I knew where they were at this point. Martikainen there, up into 10th place. So we now have a Nissan, a Skyline in the top 10. Haven't had any properly good results for Skylines recently. But Martikainen in the top 10 today. Last time out at Virginia. The top Skyline was 11th place, and that was, of course, Martikainen. Although he was a lap down. And now he's coming back under attack from Dumanas again. Oh, and he's off the road, so Martikainen left his braking a little bit too late there, trying to defend from Dumanas. Meanwhile, Rakonyak's having a little off. And Martikainen ended up dropping back behind Dumanas. It's easy to do if you're getting distracted by a car in your mirrors, if you're trying to defend, then yeah, it's very easy to do to just overshoot the corner. I should mention actually, Shabalako did score a top 5 finish for the Nissan GTR at the Nürburgring, although there were fewer cars at that time. Only 12 actually completed the first lap, only 16 started. But still, top 5 really not bad at all. Lacko not here today, unfortunately. So as the race continues, looks like Martikainen got a poor accident in the background, may come under attack from Ricciardi in the near future. Ricciardi of course on a recovery drive after his off and then drive through. Lauren Lonsdale still keeping the gap to just a second behind Phil Brown. And that, maybe it's not a full-on scrap for the lead, but it's definitely still a battle that could change. All it takes is one mistake from Brown, and we've seen in the past that mistakes are rather easy to make in these cars. Oh, and talking of such, Martikainen there overshoots the corner again, runs slightly wide, and there goes Davide Ricciardi up into 11th position. So how high up the order can Ricciardi recover to is yet to be seen. First up, of course, get into the top 10. His next target is Vasilis Diamanas. He's 3 seconds up the road. So when they start a new lap, I think we should start to maybe try to look at the track map and the corner names and see what's what around this track. It's a circuit that not many people know of. It's been used for the regional GT4 racing, and oh, I've seen some big of Nissan Micra Cup here. Also hosted a few rounds of the Porsche GT3 Cup. So here we go, onto a lap of the circuit through turn 1, known as Kink. Phil Brown there setting fastest lap of the race, up towards turn 2, which is the first heavy braking zone, and that's known as Jacques. And then turn 3 here is known as Gilles. I'm pretty sure I know what they're named after. Anstey there, side by side with Dauger down the start-finish straight. That's over 8th position. Anstey gets it in the kink. And Dauger there didn't really stand a chance, as it seemed that Anstey had a much better exit. There's Jacques and Gilles again, named after, of course, Jacques and Gilles Villeneuve. Turn 4 is known as Easy. I like that, and it does look pretty easy. It's easy flat to the left. Not really a corner at all, it's mainly just a kink at the start of the straight. The straight known as Rocky Road. There we have mulligans. And the exit leads us down to Temptation Bend. Really don't know why it's called Temptation Bend. That's a very dramatic name for a corner. Does look like a pretty dramatic corner. Oh, as we've had a change for 6. Lakinen's passed James Bird there. Now they're heading up to the next corner, which I believe is Big Rock. And you can tell there's a lot of big rocks around. And then you head into the tighter corner known as Beak, and then Throat Hook. Really dramatic corner names. I am liking those. A real test of the character of a circuit is to do with its corner names. If they're named just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., then it's usually a track with not much character, I'm afraid to say. But if you've got corners, that corner we just passed was known as Spoon. We're now heading into Quarry 1 and What's Up. There's a corner called What's Up, that's brilliant. And then the final corner here, Wicked. That's got to be one of my favourite corner names of all time. That's Wicked Corner. Yeah, this track has a lot of character. I am liking it already. A lot of other tracks seem to have completely nonsensical corner names, like naming chicanes 10A, 10B, etc., or just completely ignoring the existence of chicanes altogether. But anyway, this track appears to get it exactly right. So down the rocky road straight again towards Mulligan's, and wide goes Lackinen slightly. May just be his line through there though, looks as if he was setting up for the second apex. So I don't think that was a mistake from him. My apologies. Leader's getting really close now. Brown, Lons and Muttram all separated by just a second as we look. Well, Upham now passed by Glenn Jones, so we have one of the 911s into the top 14. Not entirely sure that the 911 is looking particularly competitive. At the Nürburgring, their best result was 6. That's not bad. That was with Tudor Morris. And then at Virginia, there was a... Yeah, Virginia, they really started to struggle. Morris was 13th. Of course, there were more drivers at Virginia than there were at the Nürburgring. But anyway, Riccardi now has got up into the top 10. Vasilis Dumanas has dropped down to 11th place. So Riccardi's next target, Christian Dauget, a couple of seconds up the road. Tim Muttram now sets the fastest lap of the race as he reels in Laurent Lons. It's getting really close and exciting up the front. 3 different makes of car, 906, Pantera and CSL, racing for the victory. Of course, we don't know who has to stop and who doesn't. We presume it's going to be the Porsche staying out and the other 2 pitting, but again, we don't know for sure. But anyway, I believe that's that'll be Mulligan's, that corner there, unless I am very much mistaken. And that gap is not coming out, is it? I reckon it's this close. At least, well, I was going to say for good, at least for the time being. Past the tyre bundles and the tall grass. And these drivers definitely in slipstreaming range. It doesn't look as if there's too many slipstreaming opportunities on this track. You've got a few long straights, mainly the one Gilles through to Mulligan seems pretty flat. Now, did I just hear a crash noise, or was that just me hearing things? I think that may have just been me hearing things. Thought a backmarker had binned it or something, but anyway. But yeah, apart from Gilles through to Mulligan's, there isn't really any long straight here. Maybe Deliverance through to Big Rock. And also, of course, you have the straight coming out of the final corner, Wicked towards the kink, but even that, not particularly long if you look at it. And really, you have to rely on either your opponents making mistakes or getting a much better exit than them, which is definitely possible. With these cars, it's all about the exit speed. It's all about the momentum. And you see, they wiggle a lot. They move around on the suspension. Tim Muttram demonstrating that perfectly there. And it looks as if Paul Upham used it to his advantage to try to get back at Glenn Jones there. But, oh, locks up and hits him, and around goes Jones. And both of them have to stop. Upham waits for him, and now gets going again. That was sporting from Upham, but yeah, little mistake there, which now allows Tudor Morris back up into 14th position. But anyway, so those drivers having a little ding dong further back. Tony Talviti says he got owned by his internet, just started to learn the track. Unlucky, Tony. That is very, very unlucky. Sorry about that. Apparently he's got a new wheel though. That's good to see. Let's hope that improves your luck in the future as well. Change between the that's Lagodin passing Martikainen over 12th position. I don't like the way the game never seems to update me about overtakes until they've already happened. It's a little bit annoying, but anyway. That's why I want to keep looking at these leaders as much as possible, because I do not want to miss anything. But we'll see. Enjoying reading the banter in the YouTube chat. Sorry I can't read it all out, but anyway. Riccardi now has passed Darga, and Dumanas has followed him through, so some good opportunistic overtaking from Dumanas. Using the scenario to his advantage, and Laurent Lund sets the fastest lap of the race, so he is deciding to attack Brown. He knows he may not get any other chances, especially if he has to pit and Brown doesn't. So he's got to get ahead as quickly as possible, or be attacked by his championship rival Muttram. Here we go, out towards the longest straight on the track. What can Lons do? He pokes out to the right hand side, up towards Mulligan's. He has the advantage on the brakes, but it's the Porsche who gets there first. Brown had the advantage on the brakes, I think. I was saying it was Lons because he had the inside, but Brown was just able to slow the car down quicker. And Lons didn't want to risk keeping his nose in, wisely so. Brown getting a little bit out of shape, going over the inside curve, over the grass. I believe there was a change in the lower positions in the top 10 as well. It may have been Lackinen and Anstey. Oh, and Muttram there, dipping wheels onto the grass on the exit. That could have been much worse. Often you see cars spinning around when they attempt something like that, but Muttram managed to keep it under control. That's good to see. Hello as well to Velociter. You have joined us in the middle of an absolutely fantastic scrap. That'll be Mackenzie Shepherd. Good to see you here. Saying the size difference between some of the cars is hilarious. It absolutely is. You wait until you see a BMW get up and alongside a 906. Oh, is Van der Geest having problems? Van der Geest was 5th, he's now 7th. Through goes Lackinen, through goes Anstey. Anstey holding it on the outside, and done and dusted. So Van der Geest losing 2 positions this lap there. Yeah, as I was saying, you wait till you see a BMW alongside a 906. It pretty much dwarfs it. It's like it could sit in it and barely notice. But anyway, of course you get a lot of jokes and memes these days about the BMW M8 GTE being large, and indeed it's larger than any of the cars that are here on track right now. But even back in the day, the CSL, it was pretty massive. I'm sure that if memes had been a thing back then, the CSL would have had pretty much exactly the same memes that the GTE does today. But anyway, how has there not been a change in position yet? This is fantastic. Andrew Williams saying a nice move by Paul around the outside. Indeed it was, and now he's pulled another move. And Lackinen has dropped to 6th. And also Morris and Jones just both passed Martikainen, so Porsche's moving up the order. Now here comes Muttram. Around the outside maybe. That's not really a possible move there. Yeah, as I was saying, how has nothing changed between these top 3 yet? We're almost halfway through the race. And I'm beginning to worry that this will be Brown's race to lose, that he will run away with it, because in the past we've seen that Brown's been able to stay out when others have had to pit. Will that be the case again today? If it is, then Brown would almost undoubtedly win this race. But what would that mean for Lons and Muttram? Where would that put them in the order? again, we shall see. Back up into the top 16. Martikainen under attack from Drake for P16. As Brown sets first lap of the race, trying to pull away from the attacking duo behind him. And indeed, he's built out a second for the first time in a long, long time. Partly due to these two attacking each other, and partly, of course, due to that fastest lap from Phil Brown. So, it looks to me as if Muttram is more of a threat to Lons than Lons is to Brown at this point in time. He takes a look to the outside, outbrakes him, and if he can pull it here, this will be the move of the race. He's still there. Does he have the traction? Does he have the track position? He's on the inside. Onto the grass goes Lons. He'll have the inside again. We've got traffic coming up. And Tim Muttram pulls a fantastic move around the outside and then the inside of Laurent Lons. And that is wonderful from Tim Muttram. Very opportunistic. He knew that he couldn't pass Lons in a straight line. Had to do it in the corners and had to do it in the most unpredictable way. So that Lons did not see him coming. Martikainen's in the pits. But yeah, what an absolute wonderful, wonderful masterclass of a move from Tim Muttram there. Tickle me with a fern and call me Caroline. That was absolutely wow. Now he has the problem that there's 2.3 seconds between him and Phil Brown up in front. A lot of time to gain, but if anyone can do it, then Tim Muttram can. And I should point out as well that if they were to finish in this order, Tim Muttram would be crowned champion on the spot. Because it would be mathematically impossible for Brown to beat him, even if Muttram doesn't turn up to the next round. Which currently seems like the only way that anyone can deny Tim of this title. Because this is a series that very much rewards attendance. You get points just for showing up, effectively. So if Tim Muttram shows up next time out, then I have no doubt that he will be champion. But anyway, it would be fantastic for him to mathematically wrap it up today, just to get just to get that sort of clearance, that buffer, so he can go into the next round knowing that he has nothing to lose. Over the crest of the hill he goes. And Lons doesn't appear to be sticking with him. 0.8 of a second is the gap, but it appears to be extending. Let me take this opportunity quickly to go and turn my light on, because it is beginning to get dark here in the UK. Okay, light on in my room, but it's still very, very light over in Canada. Because not sure what part of Canada this track is in. Well, I know it's in Ottawa, but I don't know what time zone that is. And as a result, that'll probably be about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon there, maybe. Looks about right. And these drivers fighting it out in the afternoon sunshine. Lons 0.9 of a second behind Muttram, so Muttram is slowly getting away, not dramatically. Brown now leads by 3.4 seconds, so Brown appears to be getting away from Muttram as well, and I do fear that the fight for the lead may be over, but we'll see. No one coming into the pits just yet. That's a sign that maybe fuel consumption is relatively low here. Again, it's not confirmed that these drivers have to stop. It's not mandatory, and if you can conserve your fuel, then you're allowed to. But anyway, I'm sure that will reveal itself in due time. probably about the halfway point we'll start to see people coming in. If they do, surely at least some people will have to stop. But again, we shall see. So 31 minutes to go now, 29 minutes in almost, and it's still Phil Brown who leads by 3.5 seconds over Tim Muttram. Then it's Lons still third, Johnson is still fourth, Anstey fifth, Lackinen sixth, Van der Geest right on the back of Lackinen still. Oh, is Drake there, passes Upham for P15. And yeah, this fight still going on between Lackinen and Van der Geest. Lackinen of course got past Van der Geest a couple of laps ago. Van der Geest got passed by two people in one. Anstey getting away from the two of them as well, but anyway. Bird and Ricciardi fairly close. Ricciardi appears to be closing in on Bird. That's his next target. And then we have Dumanas P10, Darga P11. Who's that? That's Lagodin P12, followed by the battling 911s of Morris and Jones. Again, good to see 911s in this field, but doesn't appear that they're particularly competitive, unfortunately. Drake and Upham are still fighting over 15th place. And we have a big field today because it goes down to 16th, 17th, 18th. And the final remaining runner is Klaus Jorgensen in 19th position in his Porsche. And Paul Anstey pits, so it appears that some drivers will indeed be making pit stops today. As Anstey makes his stop. The only DNF so far has been Tony Talviti due to his internet issues. So, that is a sign that the Shelbys at least may need to stop. Shelbys we don't expect to be particularly good on fuel consumption. They're big, brash American muscle cars. But what about... oh! Now who's that going off? That's one of the Skylines, and it's Kimi Martikainen in the wall. So Martikainen there, possibly distracted by the leaders coming through. And he may be out of the race with that one, because he's headed back to the pits. And surely has damage. So that might be it for Kimi Martikainen. But anyway, as I was saying, so what does that mean for these other cars? Will the Panteras have to pit? Will the CSLs have to pit? Will the other Shelbys have to pit, in fact? And what about the most important car of all here, the Porsche 906? Lons sticking with Muttram a lot more than I expected him to, actually. This fight for second may not be over yet, and this is the most important fight here, because of course, if Muttram finishes ahead of Lons, he wraps up the championship on the spot, even with one race to go. And if Lons passes Muttram, then, to be honest, Muttram will probably still wrap up the championship this round effectively, but only if he can start the next race. Muttram has effectively already won the championship. Not mathematically though, there are still some very extreme circumstances which are technically possible in which Lons could still win the title. Van der Geest now passes Lackinen, who runs wide and off the road, and Lackinen is understeering, and he is going to drop from 5th down to 8th. Gets it back under control, but I don't hear any engine noise. And I think he's out of fuel. I think Jiri Lackinen has left his stop too late. Maybe didn't start with enough fuel, and I don't think he's going to make it back to his box. So that may be race over for Jiri Lackinen. Or Jari Lackinen, sorry. Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate. Now he's exited back to his box, and sometimes, especially if you have damage in this game, you can repair it that way and then go back out again. I'm not sure if refueling counts the same. Even if it does, he will lose a lap. But anyway, big disappointment for Jari Lakkinen. He was on for a top 10 finish. In fact, I think he was 5th before this all happened. So, bitter disappointment for him. And that does cast doubt on the other Panteras and other drivers other than the 906 drivers as to whether as to whether they can make the full race without coming in. Let's watch on board with Lons briefly. You see Muttram drifting the tail out and coming in. So Tim Muttram comes into the pits. And that answers our question, really. I presume that all drivers other than the 906 will have to make a stop today, just as we expected before the round. So Tim Muttram is in the pits. What can Lons do? He needs to take advantage of this clean air and push and drive as fast as he can. These next couple of laps are going to be really important for him to see if he can jump ahead of Tim Muttram in the stops. And even if he won't effectively keep his championship alive, he will still mathematically keep it alive. And even so, I'm sure he would rather have 2nd and 3rd any day. But, as I said, really needs to push here. His sector times, can't actually see them at the minute because Brown is still out on track. But it's looking smooth from on board. Over a crest in the hill. Up towards what I assume is Crown Bend. Yeah, that's Big Rock, Crown, Brow, and then Beak, and then Throat Hook, and that is very smooth on the entry there. Didn't see much understeer at all. No oversteer on exit either. Laurent Lons is driving the car exactly as it was meant to be driven. He knows exactly where his wheels are, and the car is putting them exactly where he wants them to. And Anstey now gets past Dumas for 8th place. Again, the game updating me only after it actually happened. Of course, it only can, but I meant only significantly afterwards. Around the outside of a slower Porsche, that'll be Joe, what's his name again? Jorgensen. I don't mean Joe Jorgensen, I mean Klaus Jorgensen, but anyway. Bird really close to the back of Van der Geest as well, so I'm keeping an eye as well to see when the other front runners pit. Lons, Johnson, they will all still probably have to stop. Interestingly, Muttram has still come out ahead of Johnson. Now that's important, so he's not being held up by Johnson there, who is also yet to stop. Johnson driving a very strong race. Haven't mentioned him much because we simply haven't needed to. But yeah, shout out to him, running very strongly in 4th. And appears to be effectively on for 4th as well. I think his main challenger might be to Manas, who might well stay out of the pits. But over the curb there, trying to find any way to attack John Van der Geest. And I think that's going to put him under more pressure from Ricciardi than it is going to put Van der Geest under pressure from him, to be honest. Look at that, Ricciardi, of course, still on his recovery drive, trying to get back up into the top 5. He's got his 2 closest targets directly in front of him. And I'm sure he won't settle for any position lower than that. He'll be almost desperate to get past these drivers at this point in time. And praying to his lucky stars that he doesn't get involved in an accident. Drake now into the pits in the skyline. And Ricciardi almost took a look up the inside there. Laurent Lons is now into the pits from second. Now this is important. Where will he come out in relation to Tim Muttram? Let's watch Muttram here. Looks like he's just dipped some wheels into the grass there. Going up towards Beek. That's not Beek. That is the final couple of corners. That is Crory 1 and What's Up. And then Wicked, of course. Across the start-finish line, where's Lons? Lons is exiting the pits. Where's Muttram? They're going to be side by side! Oh, my word! And Muttram sweeps back through. I was really worried that they were going to make contact there on pit exit. And that is much, much closer than they were before. That's fantastic there between the two of them. Lons gave it his all, but it wasn't quite enough. Johnson now in from 4th place, exits. Whereas Van der Geest go through, but he's yet to stop. Stays ahead of Ricciardi. That shows just how well Johnson is doing, because Ricciardi's yet to stop as well. But yeah, that was close between Muttram and Lons. And Lons will be almost kicking himself now, thinking, oh, if I'd just taken that one corner slightly tighter, or taken that one exit slightly wider or whatever, then I'd be ahead right now. And it's true, maybe he would have done, but of course it's much easier said than done. And Tim Muttram, of course, put on an excellent performance on his outlap as well, in order to stay ahead of the charging Laurent Lons. So the gap for the lead is now 26.6 seconds. And while that gap may come down, I don't see it changing anytime soon. So long as Brown can stay out and not make any silly mistakes, then he will win this race. And it will be his 3rd win of the series, making him the winningest driver. But he's not a championship contender due to missing that race. And now we've had an incident for Jones, I think. Jones has had a little spin. You see him recovering. Glenn Jones dropped behind the other 911 RSR of Morris there. Alright, I would look at the 911s more. I've been wanting to all day because oh, Ricciardi very sideways. Johnson off the road. Johnson spins, and does everyone avoid him? Well, he's gone off onto the infield, slams on the brakes to avoid other cars, and that was a big spin for Johnson. Now he may still effectively be in 4th position because Van der Geest, Ricciardi and Anstey are still all yet to stop. Actually, I think Anstey may have stopped, but anyway, but of course that does mean that Dumanas, who's now behind him, is racing him for position. It's one of the first mistakes I've seen Johnson make all day, to be honest. He's been so consistent. And I think he was just a little bit distracted by Ricciardi getting sideways in his mirrors. But anyway, I'm just fascinated by this scrap between Lons and Muttram. But I gotta keep looking at... oh, as Van der Geest made a mistake. Van der Geest, I think, has run off there because he's been passed by Anstey, and now Ricciardi trying to come through as well on the inside. And ooh, little wiggle, has to back out of it. Van der Geest over the curb. Ricciardi wiggling again. Ricciardi appears on edge at this point in time, really pushing it. Ricciardi, of course, one of those drivers who tends to work at their best when they're pushing it. Seen him make a couple of mistakes in the past while on defence, although when he attacks, he's a very different animal. Down the start finish straight again. And Lund's last lap was 0.4 of a second faster than Muttram, so he's still not giving it up, is he? Now, it wasn't that Muttram's lap was slow, but Lund's very fast lap. He still senses that second place could be on here. All he has to do is get ahead of that BMW, blocking his vision. So that's how it stands at this point in time. Second back now. Close as well. Van der Geest, Ricciardi and Johnson all separated by less than a second. And I think that's because they've just got past... Actually, no, that's not a back marker, that's Dumanas. So that's Dumanas joining in a four-way scrap. Johnson almost taking a look to the inside of Ricciardi. Ricciardi trying to break clear of this pack. He knows he's faster than these drivers, with all due respect to them. And all three of the others just trying to gain track position, or keep track position in Van der Geest's case. And Van der Geest will be feeling very hunted at this point in time. It's not a good feeling holding up a chain of cars. You know that people are going to get frustrated behind you. And oh, and Ricciardi's lost it. Ricciardi's in the wall. Ricciardi bounced off the barriers. Dumanas is involved as well, and both of them are stopped. Dumanas gets going again. Does Ricciardi, or has he lost the engine? I don't hear any life in Ricciardi. Oh, well, he's got going. So Ricciardi rejoining the road. Let's see if his steering's damaged. His steering seems fine to me. But yeah, an incident between the two of them, and it looked to me as if there was slight contact between Ricciardi and Johnson, which kicked it all off. Whose fault that was, I don't know. And he's going to go off onto the grass again, is he? Just keeps it. But that's very disappointing for Ricciardi, who'd done a very good recovery drive up until that point. And also Dumanas, who lost plenty of time in that as well. And Ricciardi again dips a wheel onto the grass, needs to be careful now. So with just 14 minutes of the race remaining, it is Brown leading from Muttram, then Lund. A second and a half separating the two of them now, so that's come out again. Anstey is fourth, then it's Van der Geest. Johnson in the pits. That's the second time Johnson's in the pits. Now I wonder whether he's giving himself a drive-through for that collision. If he is, then that's extremely sporting of him. And I think that may have been the case. He rejoins the road. Bird goes through. Dumanas not quite. Ricciardi in the pits too, so Ricciardi possibly did have more damage than it seemed. And is making his stop. Very sporting from Johnson, but he's off the road again, and Dumanas is going to get him here. Looks to me as if he just overshot it on the exit, understeered slightly. No, I don't think he'll have damage from that collision. And Ricciardi is out of the race. He has given up. Big shame for Davide there. Davide hasn't had the best of seasons so far. He's third in the championship with one victory, which isn't bad, of course. 3 podiums. But would have liked to be more of a contender in the championship than he has been. And that may actually drop him... Well, that will drop him out of the top 3 in the championship if Phil Brown wins this race. So yeah, big implications of that there. And Ricciardi will not finish today's race. So, as I was saying, Anstey 4th, Van der Geest 5th, then it's Bird and Dumanas fighting over 6th place. Johnson, then Darga, Lagodin. Oh, there's a slight lockup from Dumanas. Lagodin and Morris are fighting over 10th. And Jones is with them as well, so 2 911s in that fight. Upham is still 13th, then it's Racognac, Drake, and Jorgensen still yet to pass Ricciardi. but still in the race. So we have 16 cars still on track and still running out of the 20 that started. So, what changes could take place in the remainder of this race? This fight between the 911s could still change a couple of times. Still not counting out Lons versus Muttram yet for a change, but it'll be tough. Oh, and contact between the Porsches, and they're both going off, and Jones is going to be in the wall. Jones in the wall, and Morris just about kept it out of the wall, so good save from Morris. And that's the leader there, that's Phil Brown, so that happened just in front of the leader. Lucky he wasn't a bit closer, he might have got involved in that. And Jones doesn't appear to have damaged steering, which is good to see. And that's a wonderful sounding engine in that Porsche there. That's fantastic. And this is just the essence of the 911. You look at that car and you know it's a Porsche. In my opinion, probably the finest Porsche ever made. And almost the definition of the 911 as well. 911s I think took a bit of a dip in the late 90s and early 2000s. Those cars I think look a little bit plain and industrial, but the later ones and the earlier ones just top notch really. I like the way that they've changed pretty much the same while also, stayed pretty much the same while also changing just enough to have a whole different feeling about it. It really, you know you're in a 911 every single time. Not that I've ever driven one in reality, of course. And yet, it does mean something. The different versions all mean something and stand for something. And this 60s car was just pure driving pleasure. Could say the same thing about BMW saloons as well, although I think they feel a little bit more similar to drive at times. Although I'm sure the CSL is a heck load of fun. Biggest car on the track, but you wouldn't be able to tell that from the way it handles. Big brakes as well to slow it down from such a high speed. It's almost like a brick being hurled at the corner. Very point and square. But still a majestic car to see in action. Down through Temptation corner. And up through Deliverance. As still Lon sticks to the back of Tim Muttram like glue. And their last lap's almost exactly the same as well. I'm sure that we haven't seen the end of that just yet, although we only have 8 minutes remaining in the race. Johnson and Dumanas. Johnson trying to get him back after that collision and that drive-through earlier on. And Johnson, of course, accepted responsibility for that by taking the drive-through. Not entirely sure if he was responsible. Can't show you a replay, unfortunately, but it would certainly be nice to. And I hope Dumanas isn't too annoyed with Johnson at this point in time, because, as I said, Johnson did give the place back. He did come into the pits to make sure he didn't gain advantage from it. And he was very, very sporting about the whole thing. But mistakes happen. They're easy to make. I remember I think the last SimRacingOnline race I did was the Indy race, where I managed to spin a driver on the pit entry. So apologies about that. That was very much my fault. I retired from that race, so I didn't take advantage there. But yeah, it just shows that mistakes happen. 6.5 minutes now to go until the end of the race, and until possibly we declare Tim Muttram as the drivers' champion. Well, they shout out as well to Muttram for to Lons for keeping it clean when you're the driver behind in a championship fight like this. It's often tempting to resort to more extreme matters, as Johnson now goes side by side with Dumanis up the straight and passes him. Does he hold it on the outside? Ooh, looks like a great move, but dips his wheel into the grass. And Dumanis was still there into Beak. And Johnson not quite able to get the switch back. But yeah, as I was saying, very clean from Lons has been this entire series. And that's what I like about SimRacingOnline. It's a competitive environment, but also not so competitive that it gets toxic. And you can very much race chivalrously. And just look how close this one is between Dumanis and Johnson. Johnson's been weaving all over the back of Dumanis all day. Well, not all day obviously, but since his drive-through. And wide and almost off the road. In fact, I think he was off the road there. Goes Dumanis. Johnson's last lap was much faster. Not able to get up the inside into kink. Seemed to actually have to brake slightly for the kink. Jorgensen there has a spin. Everyone appears to have avoided him. Lons now back to within half a second of Tim Muttram. I told you it wasn't over yet for the lead. For second, sorry. For the championship lead, although not really, because even if Lons pass Muttram, Muttram will still have a huge championship lead. But yeah, still, it's so difficult to find a way through because Lons just gets Muttram just gets such good exits. He's so good at controlling all-wheel drive slides. And so good at getting that power down and finding the traction. And Lons has the advantage towards the end of straights, as Johnson now does get past Dumanis for 7th place. But of course, to get alongside your opponent on a straight, you need to be close enough to do so. Gap between P1 and P2 has reduced somewhat, says Bill Grucock. Indeed it has, and I've been keeping an eye on it. It's 13 seconds at this point in time. Used to be 26, so it's come down by half. Although still too little too late. Lons now taking a look to the outside of Muttram. We've seen that he's faster in a straight line, but Muttram has the advantage in the corners. He's up the inside, but Lons has the traction on the outside. Is he going to pull a Muttram on Muttram? He keeps the inside line up through the kink, and he does! Lons takes it back. Dips wheels onto the grass, but he does take second back. And that means that the championship will technically roll over to the next round. Of course, again, if Muttram starts the race, presuming we have a similar number of cars to the number we have in this round, then he will be champion automatically. But still, Laurent Lons passes Muttram on the road, and that will be a fantastic confidence boost for Laurent Lons, that he can beat his championship rival in a one-on-one combat, even if he can't in a championship. A little bit of lag, apologies about that. But anyway, I'm speaking too soon though. Of course, Lons hasn't won it yet. We still have one more lap after this one, I think. Possibly two if Brown crosses it quickly. I think it's going to be one more lap. And if Lons can hold off Muttram in at that time, then he will keep the championship mathematically alive. Here we go, final lap of the race now. Phil Brown has begun it, and I will be keeping an eye on that, so don't you worry, I won't be missing the leader crossing the line. And Here's Lons and Muttram still fighting over second and third position on the final lap of the race. Also Van der Geest and Bird still fighting over 5th and 6th. They're getting much closer to Van der Geest here. And I reckon he's going to try something. Van der Geest has been very fast today, not the most consistent, made a couple of mistakes, but he's been very fast nonetheless. Made his way up from 10th on the grid, of course. James Bird, though, of course, also doing a very good job in this race. Apologies about my hiccups. Oh, sideways from Bird, trying to get underneath Van der Geest on the exit. Heck. Excuse me. Ah, my goodness. And on to the final lap as my hiccups worsen. Go Van der Geest and Bird. Someone startle me in the chat, please. Heck. Anyway. So Van der Geest and Bird going at it on the last lap, but we have to look back to Phil Brown, who's coming into the last sector of the course. He's been pretty much unstoppable. Of course, we had a fight earlier on, but Brown was just able to conserve his fuel and conserve his tyres and run to the end just as he was at Virginia, just as he was at Donington, just as he was at Sherrard. Not Donington, sorry, he finished 4th at Donington, but yeah, definitely Sherrard. And out to the final corner comes Phil Brown to win for the 3rd time this season. He's the winningest driver of this series. And he's going to win by 10 seconds over Laurent Lons, who brilliantly beats Tim Muttram to keep the championship alive. Muttram is 3rd. Anstey is going to be 4th. But what about Van der Geest versus Bird? Will this change on the last lap of the race? I'm also going to quickly work out the gap in the championship between the leaders. There was 41 points between them coming into this round, and there is now 38, meaning actually I'll work this out after the end, but anyway, look at this, Bird getting slightly squirrely trying to pass Van der Geest here. Anstey still yet to finish 4th. Bird taking a look on the outside. Will he get a switchback? We've only got a couple of corners left. Here we go. Goes for a dive. Well, I thought he was going for a dive. Decided better of it. Rightfully so. They've got Johnson right on their tail as well. Could he capitalise on any of this? Heading up to the final corner now. Over the grass. He cuts the corner. Cuts the final corner too. And John Van der Geest hangs on to 5th place. Anstey's 4th, Van der Geest 5th, Bird 6th, Johnson 7th. What an exciting finish between that bunch there. Dumanas is going to be 8th place. Christian Darga will be 10th. And the last driver on the lead lap will be Lagardin Darga's 9th. And the last driver on the lead lap will be Lagardin in 10th. We've got a little while to wait for Darga. He was half a minute off Dumanas. So this is a good time to work out the championship. So 38 points means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. If there are fewer than 22 cars starting the next race, fewer than 23 actually, that means that Tim Muttram will automatically wrap up the championship. So, if Lons is going to win this championship, he needs there to be at least 23 cars starting the next race, and to win, and to have Muttram last. So, I think we can pretty much announce Muttram as the championship, but since it's not mathematically proven yet, I can't say that that is official. It all depends on how many drivers start the next race. We had 20 here today, so if Lons can string together 3 of his friends to come along and race, then it could still be alive. But anyway, Brown wins the race, followed by Lons, Muttram, Anstey, Van der Geest, Bird, Johnson, Dumanas, Dauger, Lagardin, Jones, Morris, Upham, Ragoniak, Drake, and Jurgensen. And the retirements were Riccardi, Lakanen, Martikainen, and Talviti. So that is the order. If you want to get involved with this series, we have one round left, and you are fully allowed to enter it. That is at the Nürburgring Sudstrecke in 2 weeks' time. And to enter that, head over to simracingonline.co.uk and sign up. You need the simulator Assetto Corsa, and you need the mods that we're using, the Porsche DLC pack, the AC Legends GT Classics pack, as well as the Nürburgring 1967 pack. And that's pretty much it. It's completely free to enter, apart from the Porsche DLC, of course. And as a result, anyone is very much welcome. Even if Assetto Corsa isn't your cup of tea, we have other simulators for you as well. We have races on Assetto Corsa Competizioni coming up. We have some good GT3 leagues on that. We have R Factor 2 races coming up. I will actually be participating in the next R Factor 2 race, which will be Nissan 370Z GT4 UK Challenge at Donington Park. We have Project Cars 2 championships, such as the Formula Renault Euro Cup. We have automobilistas, such as the Puma Pure 52 Revival. We have the original R Factor, such as the Trans Tasman F5000 Gold Cup, and in the future we will have other leagues and other simulators available to be raced on as well. So that is that's the lot for today. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and for watching along in the YouTube chat and on the YouTube stream. And yeah, thank you very much for joining. We will see you in 2 weeks' time at the wonderful Nürburgring Sudstrecke. Stay safe, stay away from the coronavirus, obviously, and